Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, viewers.
Thank you for joining us. Yes. Um, well, I don't know if this is going to be a fume, but it's going to be a discussion of some kind. But thanks for joining us. Follow Everton after that 2-2 draw at Bramall Lane against Sheffield United. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for, yeah, I don't know. How do you feel, Wes?
Um, Frustrated but relieved. The game was there to win,
Yeah.
and for some unknown reason, we stopped playing the ball down the flanks near the end, where we was getting most joy.
Well, I think they started to. I don't know if something changed. They seemed to. Um, well, midway in the second half, it was almost as if we'd relaxed and settled for a draw. For settled for what it was, and then we picked up again. And I mean, it was the same in the first half. I mean, there were a few sloppy balls that gave them chances. I mean, Larousse had a shot saved midway in the first half from that, which could have easily saw us go down because we didn't capitalise when it was 4-2. But I mean, there's so much to talk about. I don't know. I
That was
don't know.
that's been the story of our past two seasons, is giving sloppy balls away, and it doesn't seem to have been rectified even on the training pitch. Like, as soon as they give the ball away, it doesn't matter whether it's in our half or it's in the opposition half. They break on us quick, and we can't get into our shape. And you've got the midfielders who, up the pitch. As soon as the ball's given away, they just seem to want to jog back instead of busting the gut to get back.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to. Sorry, I want to get this out of the way, by the way, because I found that game very frustrating, and I found watching football this season very frustrating. I'd like to talk about the tactics and the ins and outs and what happened in the game, absolutely. But the standard of refereeing this season, I've just found has been inconsistent and very frustrating. And they talk about making it more physical and not giving away the yellow cards, and yet the number of times that okay, for instance, okay. Thank you. We were vindicated by getting that goal from the corner following, but they haven't. They've missed the handball, which was an arm raised elbow, and on the FA website it says from here down is a handball,
Or
right?
from the sleeve, from the bottom of the sleeve.
Well, it was his elbow from behind,
Yeah,
like
yeah, it
that.
was an
Okay,
handball. It was an handball.
yeah. There's been multiple instances of shirt pulling in the box against like Onana and Doucoure, and certainly Branthwaite, and that's why he pulled his shirt, or his shirt was up there. There was a kick on Beto, and then the Sheffield United player went down. Tarkovsky's pulled down and doesn't get anything from that. There were two. I mean, there were two free kicks. The two free kick lines where the referee's drawing it, and then it's clearly on the ground, and then he allows it a yard in front from that. It's frustrating. And then there's also the point on the FA website which says if you consider the placement of the ball, the placement of the player, the trajectory of a man and where he is, even if it's outside the ball, outside the box, it can be a red card if you look on the FA website, right?
Mm.
Okay, but then what frustrated me in the second half is the physicality. The physicality of that. There's inconsistencies in the awarding of free kicks. There were multiple fouls on Beto, and he got pulled down, and then Doucoure uses his body after a rugby tackle, and yet Doucoure gets a yellow card. There was no yellow card for Basham on Beto, and then you look at that foul on Young when he knocks it on from Baldock, and there's no yellow card, right? It kills the game and it destroys the spirit of the players. Now, I'm just going to get that out of the way, and it must have been very frustrating, especially towards the last 5 or 10 minutes of the game when you think we're up there, and then the referee, he gets pushed off the ball, and then there's instances where we could get something from this game or move forward or capitalise, and they killed the game, and the referee allowed it to happen, and he's not taking charge of it.
That to me, that's just shithousery. That's what a lot of teams do in that situation. But yeah, I get what you're saying. The ref was giving out like niggly fouls. Beto was getting kicked left, right, and centre all through that game, and he hardly got a decision that goes for him. But the simple fact of the matter is, we should have beat them today. They were there for the taking, but sloppy passes, not taking the chances, like Danjuma going through and being greedy when all he had to do was square it to Beto, and he had an easy tap in. You know, they're the decisions that we're not getting right, and we haven't been getting right consistently. There was a situation in the second half where Onana had the chance to put a cross in, but he didn't. He passed it to Doucoure, and Doucoure was offside. Or it might have been Doucoure or Danjuma. Either one of them, he was offside. The right decision would have been to put a ball into the box, but he didn't.
But there's been instances of Danjuma there overplaying, and it might have been eagerness. But okay, so he when it was 4-on-2.
By the way, I thought Danjuma was fantastic today.
Yeah,
and Beto. You know what I mean? I'm not slagging him off, but he definitely should have squared the ball for Beto for the tap in.
Yeah, and then but then yes, as you say, that was when it was 4-on-2, and it could have been 2-0, and we didn't capitalise. Equally, he shot and it went wide, and then he overhit it and then ran into Fotheringham, and it's just it's frustrating to see those little things that have cost us points that we desperately needed against, in what was an early season 6-point game. There were some poor passes, Ashley Young here and there, and ordinarily you can forgive them, but not when we're so desperate for every instance to be important. And it's lucky that Pickford saved that Larouche, but equally it's unlucky that was it Archer shot and it hit the post and it bounced back and off his back.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have been afforded that amount of space for him to get the shot off, and that's the simple fact of it. Our play broke down, they broke, and our midfielders were just jogging back. So.
Yeah, but you say that, and I think there's plenty of. I do think there's plenty of. There's plenty to criticise, but I think there's also plenty to say in that Beto and Danjuma up front were transformation to how we were playing in the first few games, right? And what that's allowed for me is it's allowed, as people have been wanting to see Onana to move forward, it's allowed him. As I've said, when there's cohesive play across the pitch, it allows players to have a certain more freedom to play a multifaceted game, and it's allowed Onana to push forward, and even Doucoure to play that game, because we talked about he was at Watford, he was a box to box and he was an attacking player, and we've certainly seen some of that. So I think it's there's plenty to see from there that there was more.
I'm just seeing on a lot of the comments here, Patterson's getting a bit of a ribbon, but I thought he was okay today. He got the cross in for the second goal, so I don't know. I didn't think he was that bad.
Yeah. Sorry.
I think like Ashley Young sometimes looks like he's a youth player that's just broken into the squad. He doesn't look like he's up to the pace of the game. And I know he's 38, but he's a seasoned professional. You know what I mean? Sometimes he just wants too much time on the ball. His crossing is atrocious. I always thought he was better than that. I always thought his crossing was better than that. But I suppose when you're coming up against him, it probably usually is. When he's playing for you, it probably isn't. Onana was very good today.
We are joined by Ryan. Hello, who's live from. You've just watched that, Ryan. What did you think?
Yeah, I've just left the ground, back in the car, ready to drive back to Merseyside. 2-2, very predictable result. Predictable in terms of the fact we were playing a newly promoted team at home. We didn't quite have enough to get over the line. It's a completely different perspective when you're at the game to actually watching it on TV. And we may have a difference of opinion, but I'm not quite sure. Well, you know what? I felt like the first half was a lot of huff and puff, and there wasn't really any end product. And we kind of sunk to the level of Sheffield United, made it into a bit of a scrap. I think they wanted a bit of a scrappy game. I didn't think Sheffield United had a lot of quality, really, if I'm in all honesty. And then that first goal.
But that's because where they are in the league. It's the same for us. We haven't got a lot of quality.
We had a lot more quality than Sheffield. They came down the first goal. He's allowed to get the ball into the box too easy for me. The two defenders are flat-footed in the middle, and the ball is laid off to a free man. I couldn't believe he was free. The away end was livid, and he's got all the time in the world to hit it home. And the two centre backs are looking at each other, but you were both at fault. You were both static. You didn't get out quick enough to your man, and you made it was a really easy goal, but it's so preventable. The second again, to me looks like Patterson and Tarkowski have got a bit of a mix-up between going out to who's going over. Patterson comes inside, covers Tarkowski, and tells Tarkowski to engage, but he's let him come in on his right foot rather than show him down the wing. And Pickford can't do anything about that, even if it goes in. But it really was so disjointed, that back line in that first half, and then in the midfield, I didn't think we got on the ball enough, and there was no actual plan in that first half of how we were going to score. Every cross was coming from the right-hand side. It was hit straight into the centre-back. It was straight in front of everyone. It was never into a dangerous area. It was so easy to defend against. And I felt like there was no real plan to actually have any combinations on the pitch or create anything. The first half was really bad for me. Of course, the goal we scored was from a set-piece, second phase of play, well worked. But second half, I'm not going to stand on here too long, by the way, because I've got to drive back and it's very busy. They've got a gig tonight. Second half was a much improved, but Beto has got to put that first chance away. He goes clean through and he scuffs his shot. He then has another from a corner where he leaps above everyone and he glances it way off target, but he should have scored there as well. And then I think the substitution, McNeil, putting him on the right, I wasn't quite sure about that because it's very predictable. He's always coming in on that left foot. Nothing really happening on that side, and it's too easy to defend against. And obviously we got the goal. Patterson redeems himself for what I thought was a poor first half, gets down the wing, puts a good ball in, and Danjuma, who had several gilt-edged chances in the first half, finally got off the mark. But I think from my perspective, Everton then tired, kind of 75 minutes, 80 minutes. I think Beto faded. He was tired. He was outstanding, as was Onana and Branthwaite in that second half. But he tired, and then I think Everton just lacked a little bit of legs and a substitution. Yeah. So that's my summary.
I think Beto was just getting kicked all game. Yeah. Every time the ball come into him, he was just getting kicked. And
they were all over him. They were all over him. But
so while we've got you on the channel, before you leave, Ryan, a couple of questions for you there. What did it feel like in the stadium? Did it feel like the ref was letting them get away with little fouls and there was inconsistencies in that?
I thought Beto was getting manhandled throughout the whole game and dealt with it well. There will be other defenders who aren't quite as rough and tumble as the Sheffield United ones who will really struggle with him. But he has to score those two chances. I didn't think the referee gave us anything. I didn't know whether that was in the box, that one where Danjuma's fouled, but he's pulled back. No, it didn't look it, but people are fuming. And I didn't think Ashley Young played that bad at all. The first goal, he was shambles, and they did play a 1-2 around him and should have scored. But I think he grew into it. And Pickford, for me, has won the 2 points. Won the point for us because at the end there, the
unbelievable save. Unbelievable save.
The fans are getting up to leave. The referee's played on and on and on. And the fans, the atmosphere is like, he's going to, no, surely not. And it looked to me like he tipped it onto the crossbar and it's come back out and he smothered it. But he pulled off another one as well before that.
That was it.
Where did those minutes come from?
Sorry, Ray, that save at the end was a triple save.
I'll have to see it back. Well, he's won us a point, but we've got to do better. I mean, it's a point gained, but also the problem is it's a point gain for Sheffield United, who are also 2 points lost. So it's
but
going to make very little.
They'll lose a lot more games anyway. Like you said, they're not really that great.
I think 32, 33 points keeps you up this year, because I do suspect Luton, Sheffield United and Burnley will be relegated, and that Everton will just cling on probably less points than last season, because although I do think Danjuma and Beto have been transformational into that team with what they've brought, the dynamism. I think you've opened a big can of worms with losing likes of Alex Iwobi, because you needed someone with his sort of. I think what Alex would have brought would have just settled on the ball a little bit easier and worked the chances rather than rushing it. I felt like we rushed the final ball. It wasn't quite right.
Did Branthwaite seem as comfortable watching it in the ground?
Yeah.
Did he seem as comfortable as he did on TV?
He dealt with everything, didn't he? He was covering across in the left back channel and just mopping up, and he dealt with the long balls. Most of them, I'd say 90%. But the first goal, I need to see that back. I want to know why the two of them are flat-footed in there and not attacking the ball and getting rid. Was it just an ingenious piece of play? But I thought Branthwaite's got his position there. Even Tarkowski's possibly. We conceded 2 goals against Sheffield United. It's nothing to write home about, is it?
No, it isn't. But like I said in the pre-match, a point's better than nothing. And it's
3 points is better than 1, though.
We should have put them. We should have put them to the sword. The way I see it is, and my anger stems from, we're 1-0 up. The crowd was flat as a pancake. It was, no disrespect to Sheffield United, but the atmosphere wasn't particularly raucous. There was nothing about it that was particularly intimidating in terms of the grand spectrum of what you have to face as an away fan. And the Sheffield United, the team of fans were flat when it was 1-0, and we should have punished them. Danjuma is complete other side, but it looks like he's overplaying or overdoing too much when he should just fucking hit it in the goal. He's clearly got that ability.
Beto was completely free, and he could have just squared it and he just slotted it in. But do you think, do you think that bringing McNeil on for Garner was the right sub to make?
Yeah, because Garner for me for 89 he wasn't on 80 minutes. For 95% of the minutes he was on the pitch, he was anonymous. I didn't understand where he was positionally. He was struggling to link up with Patterson. But there was one piece of outstanding play for the goal we equalised, which justified his inclusion. It was a fantastic piece of technical play. He was taken down as well, and then we passed.
And he still managed to pass it in.
But I would have had McNeil on the left.
That's what I was about to say. I was about to say. It wasn't. Was it the right sub to me? But was he put in the right position, McNeil, when he come on? I thought he should have switched him to the left and Danjuma to the right.
He should have, in my opinion, McNeil should have played left midfield with a clear task of delivering the ball into the box onto Beto's head. And if it misses Beto, Danjuma's back post with his right foot to slot it in like he did for the first goal. I wonder whether our biggest weapon, which could be Danjuma cutting in off the right-hand side and being a goal threat there, because he's a wide forward. That's what he is. He's not a winger in the traditional sense. He's a wide forward. I wonder whether moving Danjuma to the right then takes away what that kind of edge. So it's going to be difficult to try and shoot on the minute.
That's where we was getting most of our joy though on that side with Danjuma.
I'd like
to see. But if McNeil had come on with his left foot, he could have created more problems. You know what I mean? And Danjuma could have created problems on the right.
The problem was the Everton players tired. Beto was tired. McNeil for me was very predictable. Every time he got the ball, he just cut inside. There was a couple of at the very end of the game where Sheffield were desperately trying to get the winner, and it really did open up for Everton. And there was acres of room, acres of time and space, and he lost it a couple of times. And I just think we faded. And you've got to have substitutions. You look at the bench; there's nothing there.
No.
You hope after the international break you can have Dele on there, you can have Calvert-Lewin on there, you're going to have Jack Harrison, you're going to have Andre Gomez, you're going to have options. Damari Gray's going to have to come back into the fold, and we'll be okay. But
this is what we were saying before on the pre-match, was we couldn't understand why Dobbin wasn't at least on the bench.
He'll probably go on loan and Gray will come back into the fold.
Can he still go on loan though?
I think they can go on loan to championship clubs, can't they?
Can they?
Sure.
It is worth saying that, 1 point from Port 4 is pretty abysmal, especially, Villa with a much better team. We should have had something from Fulham, and we certainly should have had at least a point against Wolves, and then we just lost it in the final minutes. I do think that it's maybe indicative of an upward trend. especially with the change to the team with Beto and Danjuma, and when McNeil comes back, and what people are talking about the roulette wheel or the inconsistency of Patterson. It might be worth mentioning that with a more solid team in general, and with more attacking options and more consistency across the pitch, it might be that we're not necessarily as weak defensively. He might, and certainly with Coleman coming back, do you think that would you prefer to play Coleman over Patterson, even despite the age difference?
I don't know. It looked like the fans thought he didn't know what he was doing for one of the goals. I think maybe the second goal. The first goal were overexposed. I don't know how. For me, the biggest concerns were in transition when we lost the ball, and we lost it not through trying to make things happen or through Sheffield United trying to get it back off us. In the first half, we lost it by making blatantly bad passes, gifting them, and they would just run up the other end and get a chance. And eventually punished us with the second goal. And so I don't know. I think it's collective, the shape. I don't think it was necessarily an individual Patterson. Patterson actually did good things on the ball. He had some composure at times. I think he was targeted, absolutely targeted, certainly with the crosses as well and the free kicks. They kept pinging it to the back post. And we brought it on ourselves, certainly at the end of the game, even there. I'm thinking that was because they targeted that back area where Patterson was always doubled up against by monstrous centre-halves.
We said in the pre-match that was where he was going to come at us anyway, because that at the moment that's the weakest part of our team, which is hard to say because there's a lot of weak parts of the team. But with Garner there and Patterson there, we knew that was the way that where they were going to come most attacking. But I think in the main they probably dealt with a lot more than what we expected them to, because it was constant down that left-hand side. You know what I mean?
In the end, I'm just going to let you get on in a sec. In the end, I thought Everton were actually quite comfortable in that second half defensively. And I would have liked to have seen a little bit more final third composure to go in and get that third goal, because Onana was dominating. Branthwaite was comfortable in defence. It was just, I think, the lack of quality and Beto tiring. But can I just give some credit out to Beto, because feeding off scraps, the guy was getting kicked to shreds, and he is a serious monster. He is going to be an unbelievable player for us. I think he needs to break his duck at Goodison Park, and then it'll come flying for him, because he snatched at the two chances he had, because he's probably trying too hard and too nervous. But he's going to be great for us, and I think we should be excited. But we need more options, and we don't want the team to be forced on us every single week. And we need to. He's got to fucking work on that defence. Conceding 2 goals to Sheffield United is unacceptable.
Thing is as well, second half, is he seemed to push Onana more up the pitch. And that
well, Sheffield United, we had loads of time on the ball.
But he played really well second half because he was pushed further up the pitch, which is interesting, you know what I mean?
Onana was controlling everything.
Yeah, and I think that he's had a much better game. But what I will say, I don't know what people feel about this, because you said something in the chat. It was during the game, but I think Everton played very, very well in terms of joined up football and sort of forward movement. Okay, it wasn't perfect and it wasn't constantly threatening, but we maintained spells of possession and we managed to play the smart passes sometimes. Okay, they weren't always the incisive passes that cut them apart, but we did. We did quite a lot of. I mean, the stats are up here: 55% possession, which is better than what we've had for a while. Slightly better pass accuracy, 76%. Okay, so we're about even on goal attempts and shots on target.
Possibly a fair result. If you look at those that Sheffield United had, where they should have scored, there was one in the midway. The second half, Pickford makes a great save. Because we make it simple for them, and the free kick. You could argue we didn't have any other clear cut chances apart from the Beto double chances. I'm gonna drop out. I think.
Dropping there.
Quiet over there. I'm gonna drop out. I've got a 2-hour drive back to Liverpool, so I'll let you crack on.
Go on then. Go on, mate.
Thank
Have
you,
a
mate.
safe drive home.
Thank you. Tired now.
Yann, do you think that like that 76% passing accuracy is pretty bloody shocking, I think. I mean, Sheffield United was worse than us, 75%. That goes to show you the standard of football that's being played. You know, the good teams are in the high 80s, like low 90s, you know, passing accuracy. But I think teams now, they just sit back and they let us have possession and just wait for us to give the ball away.
I don't think maybe it's not giving the ball away, but it's waiting for us to fizzle out and to do something. I mean, you're right, because we to an extent, because we don't capitalize on our possession. We get so far, hit a brick wall, and decide to, rather than have an incisive and pass that opens them up and goes through and really threatens, which we did do in times today. You could see that there was movement in and around the channels and around the edge of the box, which I was happy to see. And okay, it wasn't always perfect, but to see Young playing it to Onana and Danjuma going over, and there was a back and forth there, and it's like, oh, suddenly we've got a free man, and then he's tapping the ball on. It was good. It was good. I'm just going to listen to Dyche's post-match.
Go on, mate. What's he saying?
Probably should have done a bit more. He's saying that the end of the game seemed to be overtime.
There's just the comments here from Neil. All right, Neil, thanks for tuning in, mate. He says it depends on the passes, though. If you're knocking it sideways on the back, you can have 90% easy. That's what we used to do, and we haven't done it this season. There hasn't been sideways and backwards passing, which is a breath of fresh air. But all the good teams keep possession, knock it sideways and backwards, but then have, you know, a bit of penetration up front. We haven't had that until now. We've got somebody to look for in the box.
He's talking about, quite rightly, something that I mentioned a bit earlier, where he was getting angry on the touchline because he said, look, if this was Man City and they were getting fouled off the ball, they'd be getting fouls all over the place. Now, they're talking about how, you know, there does seem to be inconsistencies, or at least a lack of parity, not always between two teams, the two different teams playing a match, but between the standards of refereeing between matches. But it's very frustrating to see. Sometimes it's like, okay, if a player gets just softly barged off the ball and he's going play it and he uses physicality, oh, suddenly it's a yellow card because it play or a foul because it disrupts the attacking flow of wonderful highlight style football, right? But then when there's a scrap, as you've seen, and Beto's holding the ball and he's getting kicked and he literally gets bundled over and he just waves to play on. It's anyway.
Gang one got no filters.
But yeah, I mean, look, unless every pass lands at feet, we're talking about the passing percentage. The more you try to play speculative, because football, it's a thing my granddad used to say. It's a thing my dad used to say. Football is a game of deception. And I don't know whether you agree and whether people see this in their own ways. Yes, of course, there's skill, there's wonderful openings. But if everybody does everything right, you force players out, you block the passes, you get a tackle in. It's a game of deception. And sometimes what that requires is taking a chance. So unless you're going to make every single pass to feet and make wonderful shots or headers that go in, and then you're going to score bags and bags of goals every game.
But they can't even do that, yeah. They cannot pass the ball 10 yards without them losing possession. It's like Sunday league football. It's like you're supposed to be passing to that man. And I know sometimes, you know, they get, you know, sort of mixed up and they make a run one way and they run the other. But a player could be stood still, and they'll pass the ball down the line, which is like he's never going to get to. You know what I mean? Or it's cut out, and you just think
But there were a couple of times where there's a type of football when we played recently. When I say recently, I mean the last year or two. They haven't opted to play simple balls over the heads or lob passes that go through to a player. And in today's match, I was thinking, hang on a second, he's lofted a ball over. Okay, you can play cross pitch and switch it and diagonal balls, yeah. But sometimes you're thinking, okay, to just cut out the midfield man that's closing the line, all you got to do is play it over his head into space, and then you just head it off to the fullback who's on the other wing, and you do the overlap into the channel, and you've got a midfielder or a number 10, a winger who's pulled back in. And I was thinking, well, why are we just playing it to feet around a 20-yard area in one area of the pitch? And now we're actually starting to see some awareness, tactical and situational awareness. The
thing is, it was like he was getting all the joy down that left-hand side with Danjuma.
Yeah.
And why they didn't capitalise on that was beyond me, you know what I mean? And it was like, there was, like, near the end, there was massive gaps opening up between their midfield and defence, and Beto was stood there. And they'd pass it to the side, or they'd pass it backwards, and you're like, am I the only one that can see there's a pass on there to Beto?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like frustrating, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like you want to be on there and scream to him, there's a bloody pass on there. Stop passing it backwards to bloody Ashley Young. He's going to do nothing with it.
Well, I think some of his crossing. Okay, so Patterson crossed the ball in for Danjuma, but I do think it's going to be rather frustrating it was rather frustrating to watch the crosses just constantly go in behind the line and then just get cleared because there was nobody following it up from midfield. It was just, meh. Okay.
Peter's had a shout there. I don't know whether you agree with him, Yann. He doesn't think there was anything tactically good about the game. I don't know. What do you think? I think that.
Look, I don't want to be clutching at straws, but you've asked me right. There's been better. We played better today than we have done for a while, and that to me is a positive indicator.
I don't know. I think that okay, we got beats against Fulham and Wolves, but I think we played well against them too. We just seem to have this thing about playing away. I don't know whether it's a mental thing or what, but it's like the game was there to be grabbed and won today, and the opportunities were there to win the game, and he didn't take them opportunities. They weren't brave enough to take the chances.
Yeah, I mean, how does this leave us in the build-up for Arsenal? 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, the only saving grace is that we've got a bit of time to get players recuperated and back on the pitch. But the next two games are tough, aren't they? Brentford as well.
Well, Brentford are 1-0 up. Burnley are 1-0 up.
Burnley 1-0 up against Tottenham.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people seem to think that they're going to be down there, Burnley. I don't think they will. I don't think Burnley will be down there scrapping relegation. I really don't. For them to come flying back up with company, he's got them galvanised. You know what I mean? And I think there'll be a hard team to beat.
Well, from our position, I think any team is a hard team to beat.
Emma's saying there about Beto. Oh, Beto's our deception. People think he'll be sound. I think that's a bit harsh. I think he's a bit of more of a deception. I think he done really well and put himself about. So I think that It's a bit of a shout that saying he's a deception. I think he's going to score goals.
No, but no, I think it was just a dig at how terrible we truly are, and we've actually got a decent player. But is he going to be enough? Because I was talking before about football being a game of deception.
All right, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not
think
particularly.
The thing is now you've got a 2-week break where they'd be on the pitch, on the training pitch together, and be able to gel a bit more. You've got obviously Chimiti and Danjuma and Beto have just come into the team, and it takes time to gel. But I have seen sort of like shoots of that partnership in this game and in the Doncaster game between Danjuma and Beto. So yeah, there's definitely hope there that we can get out of this and start getting more points, especially when the players come back.
Well, it's interesting to note that Portugal aren't playing a game, are they?
Is he even an international?
I think so. No, I'm saying, yeah, he is our deception, but I don't know whether I missed it or you're saying I missed it or Wes missed it. I think he is really good, but I don't know whether he'll be good enough for the rest to make up for the rest of the team.
Yeah, I think I probably missed it.
Okay. Lee here is a Villa fan. He says Everton will be fine.
That's easy. That's easy for Lee to say after they just tonked us 4-0.
Yes.
Neil's asking what we thought.
What the XG was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I haven't got a clue. I'm not into all that, to be honest. I'm not into expected goals and this, that, and the other. I don't understand it all. At the end of the day, if a team, I just expect them to score. Simple as that. I don't. Do you understand all that, Yann?
To a certain extent, yes. It's based on the number of shots, possession, action areas, shots on target, and number of saves and all these kind of corners and how. But then again, I don't know if it's weighted based on a sort of coefficient based on how well you've scored from those things in the past, which would suggest to me that some teams who score more from set pieces should have a higher XG if their number of set pieces in a game is higher. I don't know. It all depends on how they want to work it out based on generalized, standardized football statistics. But the XG today was 1.57 for Sheffield United, 2.74 for Everton. So in theory, we should have won that 3-2 or 2-1.
This Lila's going on about your comment before. Like Ashley Young was there. He put a line there. Ashley Young was stood there shouting at him. They're in front of the line. So then he put another line where he was standing, and you were like, "What is that? What kind of refereeing is that? You've already marked out where they should be standing."
It's. I mean, what's the point in protesting? I mean, I point it out because it's frustrating and it puts some sort of context into why we didn't necessarily look. It's not as simple and as clear cut as this, but if a player deserves a penalty, for argument's sake, in a match, if a penalty should have been given or a player should have been sent off and they're not, then you don't get the officiating doesn't reflect what the punishment or the rewards or the treatment that a team should get in a match. Therefore, the result is altered or biased by it. Yeah.
But we can sit here all day and complain about referees because we never seem to get a good ref anyway. They're all so inconsistent. They even get it wrong when they've got videos to help them out. And when they can't get a simple thing like where the players stand after you've drew the line, you're just fighting against a brick wall, aren't you?
And look, and I know people might say I'm a broken record, or it might be, you're moaning about something that's been and gone. But the point I will make is, okay, you can argue that the foul started to occur before it went into the box, and then it went into the box. Okay, so it's where the foul first occurred. But my argument was, if he's going into the box and there's no other defender on him and he has an opportunity to take a shot on goal, that is classified as dogso, denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. And if you look on the website, if it happens in the box, it's red, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's not a red. If it happens, you have to consider various other things. And he's got forward motion and he's taking the ball into the box. It's a red. Yeah. That's what says on the.
I think I can safely say that there was probably a covering defender before he was, brought down. There's a Mr. Blue Skies. What do you think, Yann?
I would agree. 7 points. I think we agreed. We deserved 3 points from Fulham and a point from Wolves. We could have easily snuck it, and I'd have been, of course, I'd have been ecstatic if we'd have been on 9 points, because we didn't deserve anything from Aston Villa.
I'll go with that. I'll go with whether I wouldn't say we deserved them. At the end of the day, we got beat. So if you're conceding goals, like sloppy goals, you don't deserve anything.
Okay, I mean? based on the standard of play, we should have won the Fulham game.
Yeah,
we should have won today. And to concede that late stupid goal against Wolves was just frustrating.
Yeah, both games we should have won. We dominated both games, and we should have won, but we didn't. So we don't deserve any points because we shouldn't be so lackadaisical come at the end. Come near the end of the game.
But this is what I was saying as well. Just to go back to that point, I don't know, maybe ADHD when we were talking about the refereeing standards. This is exactly it. It was a shoulder chart. It was a physicality. And somebody said before, honesty gets penalised, right? Just before, there's exactly about this. This is what I've got. The inconsistency, multiple fouls on Beto against the touchline. Multiple fouls. He gets in, wins the ball, and he gets literally pushed over and bundled over. Nothing. And it's the same as before. That kind of mentality is replicated in the last 5 minutes of the game when Everton are pushing forward and they're not getting a free kick. And Doucoure stands his ground. I think it's Doucoure. And he just gets... The referee decides, oh no, a free kick to the defender. Because he's not going to give it or he's not going to let them play on because they're in an advantageous situation. But there's no yellow card for Basham on Beto for a much worse foul, and which happened after the Doucoure thing. And there's no yellow card for Baldock, literally just thrusting his hips back into Ashley Young after Ashley Young's played the ball. It's just...
What got me about that was that the commentators on the TV were like laughing at it, like, Andy Madley's letting the lot go today. Well, he was letting the lot go for them. He wasn't letting the lot go for us. You know what I mean? But going back to the deserved, if we deserve the points or not. If a game only lasted 70 minutes, we deserve 9 points. But unfortunately, a game lasts 90 plus minutes, and you can't slacken off for a second. Otherwise, you get punished in the Premier League.
We had a goal disallowed for, was it Leno, who just jumped on Keane and dropped the ball. And I know what people say. You can't take isolated instances, but I do strongly believe if we go a goal up relatively early in a game, it changes the dynamic of the game.
But also, I don't know whether because obviously on the Monday. They have that ref watch on Sky Sports. They have that Dermot Gallagher that used to be a ref. And he said they got to the right decision because the player who scored the goal, i.e. Michael Keane, was offside. Right? So even though they got the decision wrong to disallow the goal, the disallowed goal was correct. But, it's ifs, ands and buts at the same that we should have been, because of our lack of being able to put it in the back of the net, That's why we lost the game. Not because, you know, we didn't get a goal or we got a goal that was disallowed. We should have been out of sight long before that.
Yeah.
Same against Wolves.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right?
But now, you know, now we've got hope in the fact that we've got Beto and we've got DCL coming back, and we've also
got some hope in the fact that quite a few minutes ago, I don't know if anyone's mentioned it in the comments, but Spurs got a goal back. Son Heung-min.
I think Peter there, sorry, was saying how can it be offside? It wasn't my comment, it was Dermot Gallagher's, right? Now, I'm not sure whether there wasn't two players between the goalie and the goal. So if Keane's is behind the goalie and there's not a player or two players behind the goalie and he's put it in, then that's offside.
I don't know if it comes off.
I don't know. Like I say, it wasn't me. It was that Dermot Gallagher. So don't shoot the messenger.
Called it bizarre that Everton's goal against Fulham was disallowed. We think for the foul by James Tarkowski on Bernard Leno. First of all, do you think it was a foul?
First of all, I could say, Sue, I might be able to convince you that they have actually got to the right decision.
But by the wrong means?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's a very...
Which is what I said.
But if you run it from the side, the guy who scores is actually offside. So the ball, when it goes in the net, if the referee hadn't whistled, would have been given offside by VAR anyhow. Because Leno is in front of Keane. You have to have two defenders between you and the ball.
There you go.
Right.
But from what I've just seen on the replay, there were actually two Fulham defenders, not including Leno, that were between Keane and the goal. So they're just bullshitting in the same way that, I didn't want to penalise the referee because he's had a bad match. That sort of argument.
Yeah, let's say, that was just what I was relaying from that clip, what you've just played. Yeah. So, yeah, it is what it is. But at the same time, we should have been out of sight in the Fulham game. We should have been out of sight in the Wolves game. It was just simply for the fact we couldn't put it in the back of the onion bag. That cost us a game, and switching off for a second, and you can't do that in the Premier League. And when you've got seasoned professionals that have played for donkey's years in the Premier League, they should know that a game lasts 90 plus minutes, not 70, 75 minutes.
Yeah, but so the frustrating thing is, though, that I understand, like, for instance, the more you practice or the better your standard of play, the luckier you get. That philosophy, I do get that. But it seems so frustrating to repeatedly, like, I'm trying to do this because people are going to watch it and it's there for people to rewatch and say, and I don't bring up points and I call people out, or, I try to be as objective as possible. And I'm aware that sometimes we are dire, we're awful, we deserve to lose, but the number of times that we have decisions that go against us, or there's inconsistencies, or there's a disparity, it seems very frustrating that this is so consistent. And yet you watch other games, you watch like Szoboszlai or Liverpool and Man City, and sometimes, and I've talked about it for years, that the referees seem to buy into this. Okay, if a team is one goal down and it's late, and a player goes down for a penalty or a foul in the box, you can almost see the referee going, "Oh, I'm not going to give it. He's just buying for the draw here." And sometimes it's like it's a perfectly valid foul. The guy deserves a penalty, and yet that goes in the way of that benefits teams that are in the the European spots and the top of the league, and it goes against teams that aren't. And it seems very frustrating.
Yeah, that's always been the case, though. Even before VAR, there was always you look at Man United back in the 90s and Fergie time and all that. The big teams are always favoured by referees and stuff like that. It just always seems to be we get like rubbish decisions and rubbish refs, but we can't complain about it if we're not doing ourselves any favours. You know what I mean? If we're not defending, things like that, them 2 goals today, Ashley Young got turned inside out, and then you've got players ball watching, other players blaming each other because they should be picking up they shouldn't be picking up that person, and that should be your man. Just do your job. If there's a danger, just do your job. Don't rely on somebody else to do it for you.
Right. So yeah, it's I think that's about it, isn't it?
I think so, mate. I think all in all, points are point, onwards and upwards.
Onwards, Evertonians. Yeah, we don't have the scrappiness of the team 10 years ago, or even, we don't have the quality of Lukaku or Barkley when he was here, and the strength of Jagielka and Baines, the resilience of PNR and Osman, or the absolute physicality of Carsley and Gravison. Oh yeah, before we go, who do you think our man of the match was? Thank you for the reminder, Mr. Blue Skies.
Man of the match. I'll tell you what we'll do then, Yann, for 5 minutes.
I'm not rating them, no.
Player ratings. Pickford, for me, gets an 8.
An 8 for that save at the end and the save against Larousse, and you can't blame him for the ball coming back off the post.
Yeah, because he let 2 goals in.
Patterson, I don't think he's to blame for the goals, because Tarkowski should have seen the Sheffield United player out, and Patterson went back to cover the space because there was no one out wide. So I give him a 7 because, okay, he wasn't ideal. He did set up that goal.
I agree. I'll give Patterson a 7. I don't think he was particularly effective in the first half, but he sort of grew into the game more. Tarkowski, I think he got caught out a bit for both goals, so I'm going to give him a 6.
Yeah, I would have said a 5 or a 6, and then Branthwaite a 6 or a 7.
7, I'd say, for Branthwaite. Yeah. I don't think he done anything wrong, to be honest.
But then that makes me think Branthwaite did better than Patterson. But then Patterson set up the goal, so I don't know.
Yeah, but there's a massive difference in the fact that he pretty much coped with everything that was thrown at him. Branthwaite, Patterson put one ball into the box, and we got a goal from it. So there's this difference in context, isn't he?
Yeah.
Young, I'd say
a 5 or a 6.
I'd say 5.
Oh, because he gave a couple of passes away, and his crosses weren't great, and his corners were overhit. Or yeah,
and he's like 95. So he was average.
Idrissa Gana Gay, 6.
I thought he played okay today. I'd say 6.
Onana,
7.
But I think I'd be tempted to go 7.5 because he was instrumental in being present in the midfield and also pushing out wide for the joining up of passing movements that got us onto the wings.
Are we giving out 0.5s, are we?
Oh, well, no, never mind then. Doucoure.
5. I didn't think he was particularly effective.
Even the
goal, it was like, it was a bit sloppy, wasn't it? But
yeah, but he was being pulled. He was being physically held back.
Yeah, well, he got a little tug.
Yeah, fair enough. James Garner.
Very, very ineffective. 5.
It's hard to disagree. Although I don't think it's an excoriation on his ability. It's more him being played out of position. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see when Harrison gets back for him to be playing in the middle of the pitch. But is he gonna drop his two CDMs to play, Garner as an attacking midfielder. I don't know.
Danjuma.
7.
Yeah. I think that's what stopped him being an 8 is he didn't square the ball to make it 2-0, but he was very pivotal and forward thinking.
Yeah, he was. He was very. That's it. I mean, for what we've watched the past 2 seasons, that's a breath of fresh air to actually see somebody who wants to attack defenders. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And Beto.
7.
Really? I'd have said 8.
No, I don't think he played as well as Pickford. I think he tried hard and put himself about a bit, but he was feeding off scraps. Do you know what I mean? So I think if
he's not to blame for the balls he's getting. I think he did very well to hold himself up, and he maybe should have had a few free kicks here and there.
No, he did, but I don't think that deserves an 8.
Okay. What, you'd have liked to have seen him score a goal from distance or turn and get a few more shots? Yeah, fair enough.
I just expect more.
Yeah.
I'm a harsh critic.
Yeah, but you've seen the team of the 80s. I haven't, so I don't expect very much from it. Yeah.
But if Danjuma had squared that ball for him and he'd have scored, he'd have probably got man of the match for me. But he was feeding off scraps, and he was, even though he was getting kicked, and he was still plugging away. So I think he gets a 7 because I think there's more to come from him. Definitely more to come from him. But for me, Pickford was man of the match.
Okay. I mean, it's very difficult for me. I would have said that, yes, Pickford probably didn't deserve to concede 2 goals, should have only conceded 1. Did very well at the end. But then...
there's Peter's ratings.
All right. Oh, there's another...
Tarkovsky only gets a 1. That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
He didn't get a red card, crying out loud.
That's harsh, that. Bloody hell. He's a hard taskmaster, Peter, isn't he? He's a hard taskmaster, Peter.
Whereas Chris's, I think... Yeah, that Chris's reflects ours a little bit, but he thinks...
This is now 0.5.
Danjuma. Sorry?
This is now 0.5, though.
Well, look, Chris can rate how he wants to rate. It's Chris's own rating system. Yeah,
Onana's got an 8 as well. So who's your man of the match, Chris?
Right. My man of the match. Oh, Chris's man of the match. Yeah, everyone vote for your man of the matches now. Your men of the match. Mans of the match. Whatever you want to say.
Player of the match. Chris Onana.
Chris, I was going to say, when I moved on from Pickford, I was going to say it was between Onana and Beto. Oh, God, actually, that's a completely good shout. Branthwaite did very well. But is it possible to give a defender man of the match when you ship 2, even though one of them was an unlucky goal? Yeah.
No, I think it's hard not to give it to Pickford after that triple save at the end.
Yeah, fair enough. Did rescue. He stopped us from Evertoning it up right at the end. Excellent. Yeah.
Kevin's going for Beto, and I think he's getting fed up. He's telling us to wrap it up.
Yeah. Okay, boss. Right. Well, things can only get better. Things can only get better, right?
Things can only get better.
Yeah, it writes itself.
It does write itself. I won't be singing it next time because that was atrocious.
On that note, thank you, Wez.
Thank you very much, Yann. I shall speak soon.
Yes, and thank you everyone for joining us. As always, follow Everton.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Tell your mates, tell your neighbours. Piss off the Reds. And yeah, who knows? 2 weeks to go, or just less than, for the next fixture against Arsenal. International break in the meantime. I'm sure we may well do another video when we discuss the horrific managerial and business decisions when we see
Hold on.
several players go out to Saudi Arabia.
I was just about to say, we might be on the stream in the next 5 or 6 days, depending on what happens with Damari Gray.
There we go.
You know what I mean?
So, yes, things can only get better, but skies may be grey. There we go. Terrible. Sorry.
I'll let you end it.
Oh.
Yeah, not that way.
Yeah, well, 1 point. We're off. We're off.
We're off. Have a good weekend, Blues.
Take care.
See you later, Yann.
Bye, everyone.